What up, guys? It's your boy Forever One Wheel. So today I'm taking off the 41 millimeter front end on the Roadglide. Pretty excited for this 49 millimeter conversion because it is a night and day difference on these bikes to upgrade them to that. And yeah, so we got this front end sold to some dude from Pickering for $500, which is not bad. Wasn't looking to get a lot for it, just wanted to get it out of my hair so I could make room for more parts. Alright, so on today's video, we are going to be mounting, finally, the 49 millimeter front end onto the Roadglide. So I was going to make a set of triple trees, but unfortunately I'm not back in the machine shop yet, so I'm going to use these 2014 49 millimeter triple trees that I bought off eBay for $150. And then I also got this from Big Bear Choppers. It's a conversion stem because the later model stems do not work with the older style bikes, so I had to buy a stem. So what we're going to do is pop this stem out of this, pop this one in there, and we should be able to mount everything onto the bike. So we got our bearings and races, got our dust shields over here. So basically all I'm gonna have to do is clearance a little bit on this side of the this side of the frame here, and a little bit on that side there so that the fork tubes can clear. And we should be able to mount everything on the bike. We took a blowtorch, heated up the surrounding area of the triple clamp, and literally just stuck it in the vise here with 2 1 2 3 blocks supporting it underneath on each side, and just pounded this right out. Let me tell you, it was a good battle. But I put a piece of aluminum on top, hit it with a dead blow, and slid right out. So now we're gonna freeze the new stem and put it back in here. Right now I'm just popping out the upper races on the Roadglide using my Motion Pro tool. We're also going to pop out the bottom one. It was actually pretty hard to do on this Roadglide because there wasn't a big lip of clearance in there to fit the tool. But yeah, this tool is pretty good if if you're looking for a good tool to take out races from any of your Harleys and you're not doing it on a daily basis. Like, this is a tool to use. You'll be surprised. You can get a lot done with it. But this is the first time I actually had some clearance issues with this tool. But I think that's due to how the head was designed with the bearing races. I think it's meant for a skinnier tool to fit in there. But I've used this tool on my dyna and everything, and it worked fine. In this next slide here, we've got our bearings and races. This is a brand new kit. So as you can see, I took out the old races out of the head tube, top and bottom on the Harley. So keep in mind when you're installing these new races and bearings that you do not mix the bearings and the races up, because they are actually honed together so that they fit perfectly. So don't mix and match the two, keep them together. We also bought some dust shields that are necessary to go on there. Pressed in the new Big Bear Choppers stem. So what this does, it allows you to convert the 2014 and up 49 millimeter triple trees to work with the older style Roadglides over here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to install my dust shields and everything, and I'm going to install everything into the bagger. Yeah, so after we get our dust shields, bearings seated, everything, we're going to install that. Another important step here is to make sure you grease your bearings. So I have my little toolie here that allows you to easily pack them full of grease without having to get your hands completely messy. 10 out of 10 recommend this tool, super handy. At this stage of the video, I was installing the new bearing races into the upper cups and the lower cups of the Roadglide. This part can be kind of tricky. You have to make sure that you start it nice and straight so it doesn't get cockeyed while it's going in. Super important that you do that, otherwise it's just not going to be a good time. So make sure you put some anti-seize while you're doing that and should be good to go. So I took another clip here of what it should look like when it's fully seated. As you can see, it's nice and flush all around the lip. So just do that for the top and bottom and you can move on to the next step. As you can see here, I've installed my dust shield at the very bottom. Then we have the other dust shield with the rubber, and then we have our bearing on top of that. So the next thing to do is fish it through the bottom of the head tube, as I'm showing you right now. So that dust seal is for the top. On the top here, we put our bearing race already, our bearing and the dust shield on top. So now we're going to take the bottom triple tree, insert it through the bottom so it pokes out the top. Always make sure the bolts on these are facing you, by the way, those pinch bolts. They actually face the rider. They don't face outwards. It can be kind of trippy with how it looks because it's reverse on Roadglides. So yeah, fish that through and try to keep everything semi-clean, unlike I did here. Just have to take a rag and wipe that grease off the threads there. I'm gonna take this thing, which should probably put some Loctite on it. Clean the grease a little bit off this thread. Now you take your 1.5 inch socket and torque the top nut to about 16 foot-pounds. So make sure that's all snugged up nicely so it seats your bearings and it's at the proper torque. Next thing we're doing is just installing the top triple tree. So I'm just going to loosely place it over the nut just because I got to wait till I put the fork tubes on to get everything snugged up. You don't want to tighten everything off the bat. Otherwise everything is going to be cockeyed and it's not going to align properly. Got 3 pinch bolts on the top one and then 4 on the bottom. So we're just going to take those out and apply a little bit of Loctite on the end here. What I want to do now is slide the fork tubes up. I'll do first. Keep in mind also I'm going to have to torque the top cap on these still. They're still not torqued. They're just in there. So I'll have to just tighten the bottom one for now. And then I'll tighten the top pinch bolt after I tighten this. Okay, so we got that side on. Alright, we got Loctite. Maybe a little bit more because this bottle isn't the greatest. And tight. So what we're doing now is we've got the tubes snugged up in the triple trees. I'm just going to go ahead and tighten my top of the Legend suspension fork cap to 25 foot-pounds because now that it's clamped up I can actually do that. So make sure this top pinch bolt is loose on both sides before you attempt to torque that to spec. As you can see, we have both top triple tree and the lower clamp on. So for the pinch bolts, I checked the manual. All 3 of these pinch bolts that hold the tubes are 18 foot-pounds is what I put them to. This top one is 22 foot-pounds. That pinches around the big nut. The big nut is 16 foot-pounds to get the right torque for the bearings. That's what I did. Triple trees are on with the fork tubes. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna put our bars back onto our triple trees and we're going to install our ignition switch back into the hole and put the wheel back on, and we should be able to put it all back on the ground. So we got the bars on. Everything seems to be working good. The only thing I think I might have to do is get like a piece of rubber to put on this part of the upper tube so that they don't get hit against the frame, because there's no steering stop with this setup, which I don't care about anyways because it's good, more steering angle, but I still want it to protect my tubes at the top, so that's what I'm going to do. Put a little piece of rubber around the tubes there just to give it some extra protection. And yeah, so now we're going to install the front wheel. All right, so we finally finished the 49mm conversion on a 2001 bagger. Honestly, I am pretty stoked with how this looks. It looks fucking badass. This thing is sits super tall now, which is honestly what I was going for. Like, it looks wicked. Originally, I talked about going billet triple clamps on this, but just wasn't in the budget, so ended up picking up a pair of 2014 Roadglide triple clamps. Pretty sure all touring models for that year exactly the same. And yeah, so I picked those up off eBay for 150 bucks, shipped to my door. And then what we did was we bought a Big Bear Chopper stem, which is that centerpiece. Goes right through. Basically punched out the old one, which is sitting right over here. So this was the old stem. So I think the difference was that it's just thicker. The old Roadglides, it's a 1-inch stem. These, I think, obviously are bigger. I think the height's the same, but yeah, the overall thickness wasn't. And you can't just turn this down, because if you turn that down, it's got limited wall material and it would break. So definitely don't want to run that. So Big Bear, basically what they did is they turned down a whole new solid piece and had the nut thread on the top instead of through the center here in two different pieces, which personally I think this is a terrible design. Honestly, I think that's a really weak point, and that's dangerous in my opinion. Obviously the way Big Bear did it with one solid piece is a lot better. So what I did is I pressed that in to the 2014 triple trees, installed all my bearings and everything, put that in, and then I put my dyna style front end. I went with 25.5 length fork tubes, and then we just got some fork lowers from a 2014. I literally got these for dirt cheap, I don't know how. And then we just stuck everything back on. So a couple things that are gonna have to change. A, with this setup, I could not run my other fender, so my bolts were not long enough. B, I'm going to have to get some new brake lines for sure, because I'm going to be running Brembos eventually as well. So these ones are going to go, and basically I'm going to install these ones here. And the rear one, I just have to ream that out to 1 inch because it's 25mm right now for the back. And we also have to install the new swing arm. So I'm going to ream out the tranny to 3/4 of an inch so I could get the pivot arm to go through the transmission and through that. We have the shitty swing arm on the older Roadglides, which tends to break. So I'm upgrading that to a 2002 swing arm, which is a lot heavier duty, has the cast dropouts. So basically all I need to do is just ream out the transmission to 3/4, 0.750, because right now it's 5/8. I think it's 625. And basically then we could put the new pivot shaft and the new swing arm on the back. And that way that situation's taken care of. So that weak point's eliminated. And basically after that, the only thing left to do is get a wheel set, do a cam chest, and front fender, front brake cables, we're good to go. So I'm pretty stoked on how this bike's turning out so far. It's quite the process, honestly, but we're getting there and I enjoy doing this shit, so. But yeah, this front end's considerably taller now. Some people were wondering if I'm gonna have an issue with it being so tall, but honestly, I don't think so. There's a few other people that run this setup and they're doing just fine with it. It's got a pretty big gangster lean to it now. So yeah, that's how it's sitting right now. Definitely a lot taller in the front now, which is what I was going for. Honestly think it looks great. Just got to get rid of these wheels. I want to go with the 21 in the front or a 19. Haven't decided which one yet. But I think the wheel setup that I'm going to go for is the Ultima Manhattans front and back. I definitely saved some cost not going billet triple tree on these, even though I really wanted to, because it shaves a shit ton of weight, because those front stock triple trees are pretty heavy, but honestly they'll do for a couple seasons. So that's pretty much what we did for the whole 2014 49mm conversion on a 2001 Roadglide. If you have any questions on this conversion, feel free to ask. I have no problem showing you what's good. But yeah, honestly I think it looks great. This is exactly what I want to do with the bagger. So stay tuned for more videos. We'll keep building it up and seeing what we can do with this thing.